Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So update is here and we're gonna check out Mordo's damage output before and after update. This is by no means is some sort of comprehensive guide or review, it's just my initial gameplay and checking the differences. Now when it comes to testing Mordo, I realized I could have done several different routes, and one of my favorite is to be kind of cheesy with spamming the special one and shorter fights. However, I needed to find something that's a bit more consistent and safe for specifically this labyrinth, well, this Realm of Legends test. So I will not be doing this kind of Mordo cheesy time where you just kind of charge heavy attack spam level 1s. Obviously I'm making a few mistakes, but I wanted to make that clear. So we're going to start with Mordo pre-buff without any synergies active. And the gameplay strategy will be basically to get to level 3, throw level 3 with 10 Fury buffs active, get extra big Furies because level 3 Furies are significantly more powerful than his regular ones are, and then basically get in as much damage as I can whilst I have the 13 Furies active, 10 from his base abilities, and then the rest of the level 3. So in order to do that as safely as possible, I always want to bait out Winter Soldier's level 1, make sure he doesn't have any power, start charging heavy attack, and do it for as long as I can before he dashes in at me. And we can see that I have 13 Furies there. Now, I did make a slight mistake. I will get clipped here and there. This gameplay is not going to be perfect, but this is kind of like a general idea of how hard he hit before and how hard is he, well, and that is what we're going to be comparing with how hard he is going to hit afterwards. So here we can see I charge up all the way to 10 Furies, throw my level 3. This is basically the max damage output that Mordo can have. All 13 Furies are present. And then we're going to check out how hard he crits with the 13 Furies. So 6,400 on mediums and about 4,000 on light crits is what he does. And then the rest of the fight is pretty much rinse repeat. I'm just trying to be as aggressive as I can whilst I have the Furies active. And when they do fall off, my goal is basically to push Winter Soldier past about a power so I have level 1 to bait. And then just, again, bait out at level 1. And charge my heavy attack and drop level 3 as he dashes in at me. And that's the entire fight, and that's going to be the fight for rest of the clips as well with Mordo. And then there's obviously a lot of level 3s involved, but we can see we have the base stats. 6,400 medium crit at best and 4,000 light crit at best, and level 3 damage is fairly negligible. Mordo's level 3 hits very, very weak. We can see here that's 6,000 level 3. So we all know that Mordo's level 3 isn't the hardest hitting thing. But here we are, and so that is the tempo of the fight, that is rotation of the fight I'm using for the Winter Soldier. Getting, as much damage as possible. Sometimes I get hit, so that region kind of came in clutch there as well to basically top me off. Then I finish it off basically with level 1 when he's like 1% health. And that was 6 minutes 27, and it's 226 hits. Hit count is not huge for a 6-star rank 1 by any means. Like before, for instance, OG Storm took 300 hits, but she did it in like 5 minutes something, because obviously it was a different playstyle. Now we're going to synergize him off, and the Synergies team included like Nick Fury with Captain America Infinity War that extends his buffs, his Fury buffs in total by 45%, I believe, and his power gain buff by 20 or 25%. And then there was additional synergy with Sorcerer Supreme that gives additional 4 seconds to his Furies. And that means that I have much higher uptime now on the Fury buffs, which is going to basically just let me do more damage whilst I'm at the peak of my damage scale. But in reality, this synergy team and the best synergy team that you could basically amass for this guy is going to be pretty much what his buff is, or at least aspect of his buff, because it's mainly geared towards significantly extending those Furies, which is exactly what's going to happen. And then it's virtually the same fight. The only difference, again, is I'm not hitting any harder. I don't have any extra damage, as you guys can see here. I'm still critting for 4k on lights, 6k on the mediums. But the thing is that now I'm able to have more uptime of my Furies, which obviously enables me to do more damage. And that is it. And this aspect of Mordo's buff is what is going to be pretty much moved to his base kit afterwards. So we're going to squeeze past to the end here. And this is going to be 203 hits, 517. So we went from 226 and 627. So there isn't a huge difference, to be honest, with those Furies. So we knocked down 20 some hits and a tiny bit of time. But now let's check out him after the buff. Now the changes that are made to him basically increase his Fury duration by, I believe, about 5 seconds. So all of his Furies are going to last significantly longer. And then the second thing is that he has max cap of 15 Furies now, basically. Now, again, I do make slight mistakes here and there. And this was the clip which I wanted to show the playstyle that I'm not going to do. So this is the actual clip where we're going to be doing the post-buff fight. Now, there are a couple of criticisms that I definitely have that are going to become apparent later on in these fights. When, for instance, when I'm charging heavy attack, if I go from 0 Furies, then he lets go at 13. The heavy attack charging animation does not last long enough for you to get to 15 Furies, and I was hoping that they're going to increase the speed he acquires the Furies, but that doesn't really seem to have been the case. So this time around I get to 15 because I already had some Furies built up, but you cannot go from 0 Furies to all 15 in one heavy attack, it seems. However, now he certainly does hit harder. His mediums now critting for 9k or so, and that's with 17 Furies, so basically almost 10k. And his lights were critting for like 6k. So he does have more damage, and obviously because the Furies last longer, you are able to kind of upkeep that peak damage for longer and for more in the fight if he's not synergized. But that is, you know, that the effect that Synergy team before gave him, which obviously is always an amazing thing when you can fit the majority effects of your Synergy team into the champion's base kit, and that, you know, is already in itself significant improvement. And now the fact that you're going to be walking around with a max of 18 Furies and hitting for quite a bit harder. At the rank 2 or rank 3 level, I do think you can actually do quite a lot of damage now, if you can find ways to play him. And obviously it has to be noted for the fact that Mordo is still a Mystic champion and he's best in matchups where opponents do have buffs. But there we could see that I only got 13 Furies. So I do think this buff makes sense from the point of view that he got better to play in it. Now you can have Furies up pretty much the entire fight if you choose to do so, which you couldn't do before, and it does make it feel a lot better. But I do think that they also overlooked quite a lot of things with charging the heavy attack for not improving the speed of your Fury acquisition, and also for, again, not letting you charge heavy attack for long enough so you could get to the max Furies there. But here we can see again 17 Furies, and damage is definitely better. So before it was 220 hits or so, 226 hits unsynergized in like 6 minutes some. This time around, instead of 220 hits, we have 131. So it's not quite halved, but it's nearly doubled. It's nearly doubled the damage on the Mordo. And now when you synergize him, I use pretty much the same synergy team, I think, with one champion, slightly different there. But that synergy team this time around actually isn't gonna matter at all. I think I'm gonna end up using one more hit than I did before because of crit RNG or something like that. Basically, that synergy team didn't matter here at all. I did have even longer Fury duration and everything, but at this point already it just shows that it isn't really all that helpful past this point. And yeah, that is going to be pretty much it. So you can see that this synergy team is not really useful anymore. I probably would have been better off if I synergized him up with like Falcon and a bunch of crit rate and crit damage synergies, or stuff like that, basically. Nothing that interacts with his Furies anymore, because that buff kind of sorted out the Fury duration change. But his base damage is nearly double, which I did not necessarily expect as big of a difference, but it kind of makes sense now that you think about it, because you do have those 5 extra Furies at all time, and you also have them up for significantly longer than you did before. And that does result in quite a huge difference in terms of damage. And this is going up against a champion who doesn't have buffs, a champion who, because then you would get even more attack increase, I believe by 15%. And obviously, if opponents do have buffs, then you can spam your level 2 as well and put on the damnations, and that is, you know, potentially better damage source. So it's going to be interesting, actually. I'm kind of curious about Mordo now. He's kind of piqued my interest, I'm not going to lie. The fact that his ability accuracy cannot be reduced is quite useful, in my opinion. And there are several other things that kind of make him an interesting character. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe we will end up taking him up at some point. I'm not going to rush into that for sure, though. But you never know. You never know. So this final fight here, again, we're going to see that it is going to last for 133 hits. I think it's also like 2 hits more than before and 323. So it's basically the same thing. But unsynergized, he definitely has become much more potent, nearly doubling his all damage output. And this is, I think, a decent example of minor changes can make major difference, at the very least in terms of damage. I'm just worried if he's, as a champion, kind of good enough in terms of utility. But obviously now he's also harder to kind of counter on defense as well, so there is that. But that's pretty much it for this showcase. Let me know what you guys think, and I'm going to catch you guys later. See ya.
Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the